So we have our function negative 3x squared, negative minus 12x minus 16. So remember, this is your A, your B, and your C. All right, raise your hand if A is true. I agree, this is not true. Raise your hand if B is true. All right, remember, A is the attitude. If A is negative, that means it's a frown. So this is true. So B is true. Now, because B is true, go ahead and correct this, that it doesn't have a minimum, it has a maximum. Frowns have a maximum. All right, somebody besides Tristan, which one of these is my y-intercept, A, B, or C?
C.
C, good job. So because it's C, which one would you pick? Letter C or letter D? C, right, because the y-intercept is going to be at negative 16, so this is true. Good job. Cross that out. Now, the only one that requires a little bit of calculator work is the axis of symmetry. So that would be x equals the opposite of B over 2A. So B is negative 12. The opposite of negative 12 would be positive 12. And that's divided by 2 times A. And what did we say A was again? Negative 3. So when you type that in your calculator, are we going to get an answer that's negative or an answer that's positive? Negative. Good job. Because it'll be x equals 12 divided by negative 6, which is actually negative 2. So that means that E is correct and F is false. Okay. G or H, which one is all real numbers? Domain or range? The domain. Good job. All right. So the correct choices would be B, C, E, and H. I should also mention that you have a skills check tomorrow, and the skills check tomorrow is going to cover the graphing, like what we've done up until today. So graphing a quadratic, finding the axis of symmetry, things that we've done over and over and over and over again. All right, so now let's go to page 11 in your notes. And we're going to talk about estimating the y-intercept. So estimating the y-intercept. So when you're looking at a graph, you're going to tell me where it crosses the x-axis, okay? Sometimes, though, it doesn't cross at a point, an exact number. It crosses in between, okay? So let's look at this table really quickly. I'm going to look at the table and I'm going to look at the graph. So notice that my y value starts off negative and then it becomes positive. Anytime you have a sign change, so let me say sign change in the y value, that's going to equal an x-intercept. So notice how we had a sign change. That means that right here, because you look at your x values, we have a x-intercept. And if you look at your graph, we can verify that. This graph does indeed cross somewhere between -2 and -1. Now, I can't say what the exact answer is, but I do know it's going to be a decimal. And that decimal is going to fall somewhere between -2 and -1. All right, so then if I keep going down, my y value, positive, 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 and then I change to a negative again. So that means that my second solution is between 4 and 5. And if we look at our graph, we can see how we do have a x-intercept between 4 and 5. Again, I can't tell you the exact answer. It could be 4.2, it could be 4.5, it could be 4.8. I just know that it's some number between 4 and 5.
How do we solve it?
So if we were to solve it, we would have to do things that we're going to learn later, like the quadratic formula, things like that. You would probably have to do the quadratic formula for this one to get the exact answer, because this one doesn't factor. So, and that's actually what we're going to talk about Wednesday, how to solve. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next question. Again, estimating. So if I look at my y values, so I'm negative, 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 then it hits a positive. So that means my answer is going to fall somewhere between 0 and 1. And if we look at the graph, do you see how it does fall between 0 and 1? So my first solution, I'm going to say, is between 0 and 1. So it could be 0.3, 0.4, 0.2. It's just some number. It's a decimal though. And it's between 0 and 1. So then I'm going to keep going down. So I have a positive, a positive. Okay, it switched again here. So that means I also have a solution between 3 and 4. And if you look at your graph, you can see how it does cross between 3 and 4. And that's my two solutions. It could be 3.1, 3.8, 3.6. All right, now let's look at tables, and then we're almost finished. So if you actually are lucky enough to get a y equals 0, whenever y equals 0, that is your exact x-intercept. So I actually do have a y equals 0 here and here. So that means that I can tell the exact solutions, which would be a -2 and a +5. So it's not a decimal. X equals -2 and x equals +5. The definition of x-intercept is the x value when y equals 0. Sometimes that number is whole and sometimes it's a decimal. Now, if you don't have a 0, then we focus on the sign change. So let's look at the next one here. So unfortunately, I don't have any zeros. So now I need to look at my sign changes. So I start off positive, and then immediately I goes negative. So that tells me I have a solution, and it's somewhere between -3 and -2. All right, so then it's negative, negative, negative. Okay, then it hits the positive right here. So my second solution is between 0 and 1. All right, I want you to try to do example 10 on your own. I'm going to see if you get them right. Anybody go to the fair over the weekend? If you're a teenager, like 18, 19, 17. Oh, really? I don't know. Kids being together. So go ahead and look for your sign changes in example 10. Where does it change signs? All right, let's go ahead and look at it together. So example 10. All right, so I'm looking at my Y values. So I'm starting off positive, then I got a positive 2, and then it flips to a negative 1. So that tells me that my first solution is in between negative 3 and negative 2. All right, who had that? So I don't know what it is. I just know it's between negative 3 and negative 2. All right, so now let's keep going. Negative 2 is still negative. Okay, and now it became positive again. So my second solution is going to fall between 0 and 1. All right, any questions about how to determine your x-intercepts? Carmelo.
This one over, it's number 6. If it just turns positive one time, what do we do? It's like negative.
Okay, let me see if I have that homework assignment.